Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to deviate once again into a chart on a famous person. And in this particular segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about prolific athlete, NFL player Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow is a Leo. He was born on August 14th, 1987. He was born in the Philippines. This is a speculative chart again, and the next one I do, I promise I'm going to use time that is definitive and verifiable. I gave a time of around 9:16 p.m., which would give him Aries rising. I put it at 15 Aries rising. This way I can't, assuming if he does have Aries rising, I can't be off by more than 15 degrees either way, approximately. So anyway, the first thing I want to start off with talking about Tim Tebow is his rising sign, which I have as Aries. And as far as his physical stature, in appearance, I'm thinking, Aries could fit. He has the triangular shaped face. He has sharp features, strong limbs. Shoulders, can be kind of sloping, which is, could be, Aries. I think his personality is obviously, he's very aggressive, type person, very assertive, and follows, at least in my opinion, like the no fear concept when he plays. And what's funny about him, he is a little bit unorthodox, as a player, as opposed to just being a pure passer. He likes to run with the ball and is like a lethal running back in a way. He's almost a dual, athlete. And, when players run, I know they all run with their head forward, because that's the normal way to run when you're running with the football, like especially like, if you're a running back or a quarterback running with the ball. But with him, it seems like it just would seem to fit him. The Aries tendency, part of their mannerisms, they say they do, they can walk with their head a little bit before the rest of the body, and it seems like that really could fit him. I'll talk about his also the appearance. Back to Aries rising again with the appearance. Another thing I notice about him, he does kind of have a long neck, and that sounds like that could fit Aries rising. Next thing I want to get to is his sun sign being in Leo. Obviously he has great fortitude, courage, valor, leadership capabilities, is very magnanimous. We know with the Tim Tebow foundation, he's obviously more than generous, and Leo people can be generally fortunate, and he is obviously. His moon sign is in Aries. Based on the speculative, Aries rising chart, if he was born, much later, he would have had moon in Taurus. But we'll go with the moon in Aries. Obviously, can be very impulsive, self-reliant. They could be quick to anger, but they have the forgive and forget philosophy. And he is, a negative side can be impetuous. Aries personalities can be, also can be very daring, and maybe because of their aggressiveness, not afraid to take chances. Tim Tebow, also have him with Jupiter conjuncting the moon in the chart, the speculative chart I did, and people with this conjunction can be very expansive, jovial, optimistic. Emotions can be very happy and be ebullient. They could be outspoken and blunt a lot of times with what they say, but may very rarely be off on whatever it is that they state, even though it might be in an outspoken manner. Tim Tebow also has a grand fire trine, which is comprised of 3 planets and fire signs, and they all make a 120 degree aspect to each other. And obviously, the grand fire trine, he's very extemporaneous, spontaneous, a lot of exuberance and energy, and of course the fire, which is, of course, by its namesake, has a lot of fire in his personality, much confidence and self-assurance, and very energetic, and that's a lot of the makeup of the grand fire trine. Tim Tebow also has a stellium in Leo. He actually has 4 planets in Leo, and someone with a strong Leo emphasis can be, supremely strong emphasis in Leo can be very dramatic, be connected with a lot of attention, notoriety, being magnanimous, fun-loving, and it's really something where Tim Tebow obviously, whether he thrives on this or not, he can't help but being in the limelight, and I think a lot of this is attributed to his strong Leo emphasis in his chart. Another thing I've seen what Tim Tebow has, I like to point out, is Saturn is retrograde in his natal chart, and someone that has Saturn retrograde could be someone that might encounter obstructions or some delays in achieving their aspirations. And as anybody that follows the NFL with pro football, is that even though Tim Tebow is very proficient at what he does, very good athlete, he has had trouble keeping a stable position as far as a starting quarterback role. The New York Jets last season, I think, used him for under 100 total offensive plays. And this year, season, it seems kind of nebulous for Tim Tebow because he doesn't have a place yet where he has landed as far as an NFL team. So even though he has a lot of God-given ability, I think Saturn retrograde might, be holding back on some level, and, not that he won't attain his aspirations. I believe he will. A lot of people with Saturn retrograde are delayed in achieving their objectives, but will get them eventually, and I think, he will at some point. It's just going to be a little bit delay in doing so. Another thing about Tim Tebow I want to point out, he has his chart ruler in the 5th house. Great shocker there. No, saying it sarcastically, of course, being flippant. But his personality may be strongly expressed, through fun, enjoyment, sports, games, and children can also figure prominently in his life. And he does have the Tim Tebow Foundation, and I don't know 100% what that entails, but I know at least some of it is connected with helping impoverished and underprivileged privileged children. So children are somewhat of near a focal point in his life, and he shows obviously a lot of compassion toward them. And 8 of 10 planets in masculine signs in his natal chart indicates that he has a lot of enterprise, extroversion, very outgoing, somebody that can have more leadership attributes, and someone that would prefer to be at the head of the field as opposed to someone in a subservient or subordinate role in life in general. And he is and he might when he's on a football team, of course, the coach is kind of that leader of the team, but he obviously, even if his position is not one that you would identify with a leadership role, he can't help but project a lot of leadership qualities, especially with that strong emphasis of fire in his chart and the Aries and Leo emphasis right there. On the speculative chart that I did with him, Saturn was right near the 9th house cusp, basically conjuncting it. And if his actual chart were done, maybe it would actually be in the 9th house, which shows that he's could be very steadfast and loyal to his religious beliefs and principles, which I'm sure not sure. From what I know, he is very much so. And these could have been values that maybe were indoctrinated and instilled in him when he was very young, and he's kept his approach with that consistently throughout his life. And that I don't know 100%, but it wouldn't surprise me if that were the case with him. His something else with him, and say his ruler of his 10th house, which is deals with status and career, notoriety, recognition, standing in the community, was located in his or was actually at least conjunct his 9th house, which shows that, with his recognition and everything, is, a lot of that is his philosophy on life. He could be involved in traveling a lot in his career. Even, if he's, ninth house could be associated with sports as well. And even traveling, even in sports, you're going from one stadium to another. There's a lot of traveling that could be involved right there. And the fact that he was building something or involved in a project that was being built in the Philippines that I believe was connected with the ministry and or helping children, this to me, right there, we know that traveling does figure prominently in Tim Tebow's life and his life scheme very strongly. Tim Tebow has, when I looked at his chart, he has predominantly good aspects to it, non-adverse aspects or positive aspects in his horoscope. And to me, that shows somebody it's very auspicious for him and providential. A lot of things he can accomplish based on his own God-given ability. I mean, he still has to work, don't get me wrong, to attain a lot of his goals and his objectives. But there's a lot of things that are in him where he just naturally talented and gifted, in which he, in that way, he has a little, easier than, a lot of other people. On the negative side, somebody with a lot or preponderance of, positive aspects, could become complacent at some point, in time, and too relaxed over certain things. And that's, one of the, negatives, of course, connected with having a lot of good aspects in your natal chart. And also with Tim Tebow is that I wanted to say that, he's obviously, as I've stated before, he's been somewhat peripatetic in the NFL and going from this team to that team. I noticed something with him in early 2004, early the first week of September, second week of September 2014, is that transiting Jupiter will be conjuncting his sun sign. I guess within 10 degrees or whatever the orb I would give it would be 10 degrees. So somewhere around there he will. That sounds to me like I could be providential at that point, and perhaps at that point in time he may find some success with it, as a starting quarterback with a team in the NFL, or maybe he might get some offer with another league possibly. But right there, it's kind of funny how that would coincide, second week of September would coincide with, the beginning of the NFL season for 2014. So maybe he will get, it might take him till that time possibly to get that starting position, or, something where he's really prospering in the league. Well, that is going to be it for Tim Tebow, natal chart, dissertation, interpretation, or what have you. And anyway, two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, of course, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, or what have you, and make an analysis on a person, astrologically speaking, because a person astrologically is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.